Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. And we're going to have so much fun today. Oh, Sherry, absolutely. So, hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Today, I conjured up a beautiful priestess of hoodoo. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. So, Sherry Shone, aka ThatHoodooLady, I have had the pleasure and honor of knowing and working beside for many a year now. She has a master's degree. She is a non-denominational minister, and she's an author. And so there's a couple of her books out: The Hoodoo Guide to the Bible, Advice from a Real Hoodoo Worker, as well as Hoodoo for Everyone. And I'm just loving it. Modern approaches to magic, conjure, root work, and liberation.
That's
Oh,
right.
Miss Sherry, thank you so much. This is such a hot topic, and I want to go there with you. How did you find your path to hoodoo, and what is hoodoo?
Right. So hoodoo, the African American folklore magic that was made for deliverance purposes, against purposes of enslavement, colonization. It's very much a justice and political platform. That's what hoodoo is to me. And definitely, I use other magical systems for other things in my life. But when I need deliverance, when I need something done right away, then I'm going to use hoodoo. It calls in the energy and the blood of my ancestors and brings about change across everything that I needed to be, from trying to get things paid on time, to trying to get people out of my life that don't serve me anymore, to trying to get relationships and love back into my life the way I need it. I use hoodoo for everything. I'm actually working on some onion and some bees and some honey to be able to help with my throat right now. So I use hoodoo for everything. It isn't something that I just put on every day and kind of go, oh, yeah, this is cute. No, really, this is really how I live my life. And so more, I think that as women of color, especially women of brown, yellow, red, black skin, we can't be just one thing, right? When I was talking to my sister, she lives in California, and she says, we're the state of hustlers. And I think that as women, we generally are in a state of hustle. We have to be more than one thing and do it well. Because if we don't do it better than everyone else, then we'll start to hear the naysayer, not around the external, because we get that too, but just internally, right? We hear the naysayer in us, and that tends to float up if we let it, but we don't have to let it. So we're going to get to talk about a lot of stuff.
Honestly, I dabble in a lot of different magical paths, and I've dabbled in different arts and divination and all of this because I'm just curious all around the board. But just for you guys to know, I was afraid to approach the hoodoo because I'm like, what if I say something wrong? I lots of respect and appreciation, but with that, a lot of I wish I knew what it was,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And I think that's absolutely what I get a lot of when I was out promoting Hoodoo for Everyone, the book that came out last year, which basically is a declaration. You can be of other religions, you can be of other ethnic backgrounds, you can be everywhere and be part of the Hoodoo practice. However, Hoodoo is typically for someone who looks like me to be able to help from deliverance work from other people that were colonizers. If you, and I have in the book ways that if you are part of a lineage that possibly comes from colonizer, what to do to kind of heal that and try to make sure that you're not appropriating, but you're educating as you're bringing deliverance work through your hoodoo. But I believe that all of us came from Africa. So I believe that all of us have the ability to use this work as long as we're using it respectfully and with the understanding that this is magic that comes from trauma. And so you have to be very careful doing that work. You're not going to do that just to pick out a cool crystal. You really are doing it with the understanding that you're bringing it on the backs of others that lost their lives. So,
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about that is the respect. And what I'm hearing you say, a lot of times people dabble in magic because, oh, they want a new car, or they dabble in
yeah,
magic because, but you're like, no, I need food to eat. I mean, you're very grounded in, like, I do not need that person in my life, which is just so beautiful. And thank you for saying that, because I think that we are in this culture that has this override of love and light. And I'm like, yeah,
right.
I'll show you love when you step back, and my love
If you
will
step
be
back,
to be quiet and not bother you. How's that for love? And so I love
how's
that
that
you
for
go
love?
there.
Right? Because isn't that the best part of being loved? Is being self loved, being able to enjoy yourself, to be able to say, I can masturbate in the morning and love on you at night, and I'm the same powerful witch
I love that. Exactly. That's
myself.
one thing that Sherry does not do. Sherry does not pull punches, but she delivers in this sunshiny, hi everybody, I am going to kill that mother. You know, it's just like, I absolutely love your spirit because you just bring it. You just bring it.
It's
And
a fun little dichotomy, right? I think
yes,
that's what Spirit does too. Which was an old school commercial back from the 70s. Folgers waking up, but it's this mother and father, and the mother has talked to her son, and you can tell it's an adult son that they don't get to talk to a lot. And he's like, well, why did you call? Why did the son call you, mom? And she's like, he just called to say he loves me. And you just cry, 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 cry. But you could also tell that she was the mom that was the supportive mom. She helped him through college, made sure he didn't run the streets at night. You
yeah.
can tell all of those layers. And I think that for us as workers, we have all these different layers. We can layer our magic in kind of cool, cute stuff that we put out for psychic fairs. And then we have another one that's our author image. And then we have another one that's the, hey, you pissed me off and now I'm going to have to come for you image. And I'm going to come for you with everything that comes with me. So I tend to very, very, very lightly approach each level that you get of me and my magic, right? I don't start with the axe. I don't start with the cauldron. I start with a spray bottle. I try really hard because I know that when my ancestors are coming for me and with me to come after something, I can't stop it. So I have to be very, very careful. And I want everyone to know this magic works and it's real, but it's also something not to be played with.
You're not just throwing down a type of magic that is, again, like I said, just but you literally, part the first part of the book, it's like, okay, if you're going to read this, go wash your hands
Please
first.
do.
Make a cup of tea, wash your hands. Why do you, could you expand on like those little things about washing your hands and why you would say that, and what is that? Unpack that a little.
Absolutely. All of that comes from respect. The work that I do is very Bible grounded not in a religion, but Bible grounded in a relief of intention, faith, and direction. Every chapter that is written out of the Bible is written for the intention of increasing faith, sharing knowledge, and showing you the direction that is to the left or to the right, and leaving it up to you with free will. And I think that's how all of us are dealt with in our own lives. We get a whole bunch of choices, and it's up to us to choose to reach one. And once we build that choice that we're going to go through, it's up to yours to own it. And I think that as I'm building my magic, as I'm doing work from just starting out, the very baseline is to be cleansed, is to be clean in front of that deity that I know is no joke. I don't work with deities that play. I just don't. I don't have the time, and neither do they. So, with honor and respect, I don't want to come before my lover with a dirty body. So, why would I do it to my deity?
Is so, like, obviously profound, I mean, it's just like, duh.
Right? How
Yes.
many times do we eat And we clean our hands first before we put anything in our mouths. So why wouldn't we clean ourselves first before we put anything of outside of ourselves into our body? Reading sacred texts, delivering sacred messages. That requires to me a clean vessel because you are now stepping away from yourself. You're allowing yourself to be totally pulled into possession in spirit, which is a beautiful thing to be able to do as a practitioner.
know, Sherry and I have had somewhat similar upbringings, and one of the things that I want to talk about is, I love different religions, different spiritual paths. I'm very, very open-minded, but there is something that is like church trauma, or what do they call religious trauma, and all of
Yeah.
that. I got a little bit of that growing up. So when I say this, I'm not talking about all churches, but I am talking about that belief trauma that we get shamed. And a
Yes.
lot of the sword that we get shamed with is the word of God, aka the Bible. And so when I met you and, you know, read the Hoodoo Guide to the Bible? What?
Yes.
And you said
Yes.
some profound things. I remember I was at one of your events, you were signing books, and you said something to the effect of the Bible is one of the oldest spell books.
Absolutely.
Can
It
you
is
talk
the
a
oldest cell book. So
yeah.
when you think about the Bible, it talks about a lot of things. It tells you what plants to seed in your magical garden. It tells you how to take care and wrap feet of those people that you love to be able to bless their steps, which is some of the work that we do now when we're doing any footwork, when we're doing any binding, when we're doing any releasing. It shows you how to use frankincense and myrrh. It shows you that you need to have incense in your work. It shows you that you need to have prayer in your work. It shows you that you need to have an intention of deliverance or banishment. It teaches you everything you need to do for ritual
Wow.
from beginning or end. When you think of Genesis, all the way to Revelations, it teaches you that even in a ritual, you need to have a beginning, you need to have an ending, and it needs to close the chapters of each book because if it doesn't, it's not in balance. The Bible teaches us that there's going to be balance between those things that we're taught of as good and fair and those things we're taught of that are unjust and wrong. And that within all of that is this balance that has to happen in faith. And it's okay to cry, right? In the
Yeah.
Bible, it says that Jesus wept. And that lets us know that if we have something as large as a Jesus that weeps, that we are okay to cry as much as we want because that's part of our human experience that our deity wants. So even stepping away from Christianity, because I do feel that many of the standard religious systems come in because they are built from a capitalistic mindset. What can
Ooh,
we do to bring as much money into the church?
yes.
Not what can we do to help the people of the church, but what can we do to bring money into the church? Totally different than what I use faith and intention direction for. I use faith and intention direction to be able to get the work that I need done and the work that I need done for my client. It has nothing to do with the money. It has nothing to do with some other political deity telling me what to do. I'm not selling shoes. I'm not selling a Bible. I'm selling the actual work of deity.
Oh my goodness, I love that because in speaking of my personal, I forgot the key word. What is it? Some sort of a trauma,
Yeah,
religious religious
it's like a
trauma.
religious trauma. It's really a thing. I mean, so many of us have been hurt um, just by the word of God because it's been used to push you down into a place of servitude, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I did suffer that religious trauma.
Yeah,
The word of God, the sword of the spirit, I mean,
yeah,
people may catch on to the jargon if you've been to church when you're young, um, was used to cut me up. And so
yes,
what I did, like, okay, so I was raised by two people who met and graduated seminary school. So total PK preacher's kid here. And I was the child in the family line that was supposed to carry that torch forward. And
Mhm, mhm.
so, I was going to drop out of school when I was 16 years old and I was going to go to seminary school. That's the end all be all of it. Now, my life took a lot of turns, but when I started questioning deity, it really they sent me out. That's another
Yeah,
story
they
for
set
another
you out.
day. But
Yeah.
at the end of
Instead
the
of embracing that
yes.
inquisitiveness, because that's also part of the Bible, but
Yeah, no, but when so I know the Bible.
yes.
It's in my soul, I know John 3:16. I know Psalms
Right,
23. I
right.
know the Bible like it. You give me a keyword and I'll start rattling it off because I studied it when I was young so long. But what I ended out doing with my trauma is I ran as far as I could away from it until
Yes.
Miss Sherry, that hoodoo lady, check her out, follow her on social media. She's like, "Oh no, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater."
No.
And you actually helped me heal on rebalance, like you were just saying, and deliver my spirit and my intention with my working, that just because I am not of the Christian faith
Right.
doesn't mean that I am damned or going to hell.
No.
So I really kind of wanted to, I want your response on that, but I really wanted to say, listeners, if you have some religious trauma, pick up the Hoodoo Guide to the Bible and start
Yeah.
looking at how Sherry Shone is showing us that it's an empowerment, and it can
Yeah.
heal. It can heal you, and you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I love that.
What do you have to say about that? I mean,
Yeah. I have this need with the Hoodoo Guide to the Bible to be able to share that my own experience with trauma and Christianity coming out as a queer woman in the church really helped me work with my version of God in a way that healed me, that said, "You are everything that I ever imagined in a child of God. And I want you to feel okay with saying that you are precious in my sight." In the Bible, it says you are created in their image, not in the image of a white Republican politician, not in the image of a yellow liberal person, but in the image of all. That is what deity wanted for you. And
wow.
that helped me because I was feeling a little bit like the minute I came out, I was no longer a follower. I was no longer someone that was worthy of the attention and the blessings that deity brought me throughout all my life. As I was brought up in childhood all the way to adulthood, I saw miracles all the time, right? I saw people get healed from cancers, from diseases, from poor poverty, from, my own story. I started out eating, white bread with syrup sandwiches because that's all we could afford, to making enough money that I get a bonus every year in a corporate world. So I don't want anyone to think that they're limiting themselves. I don't want them to start to become more limiting of yourself in the use of Bible. I want you to take that upon yourself, pull out the things that work for you, change things the way to a way that works for you, and just know that it's flexible enough to be able to meet your needs.
The road is real, and it's really interesting because usually Granddaughter Crow will say, as the divine reveals itself to you, meaning
Yes.
that the divine reveals itself in different ways to each of us,
Hmm.
and that it should not be weaponized that my way is better or your way is better or
Yes.
anything. But it's
Yes.
like, as the divine reveals itself to me, when I needed a shepherd, Jesus showed up. When
Yeah.
I needed an empowerment and to get out of my victim stance, Lilith showed up. When I needed
Absolutely.
to figure out how to be, an empowered female without being sexualized or be called a bitch because I was acting manly, Freya showed up. And so
Yes.
I stand with that. And I think that the divine reveals itself to each of us in different ways at different periods in our life. But what I love about what you do is, you talk about deliverance.
Yes.
And what I want you to understand is that in without you even knowing it, you delivered parts of my spirit out of this. I have this old, white Republican thinking of, I have to give 10% to the church, even though I'm starving, that I like what you are throwing down. And now it's just like, oh, you delivered a lot of me. That's just like, oh, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no
Yes.
evil, for thou art with me. Oh,
Yes, thy
oh yeah.
rod and that comfort staff that comforts me. When we think about, so let's talk a little bit about the tithe thing and about donating things. So when I read that you are to go into your storehouse and donate or give 10% to your deity, giving 10% necessarily in that time was not really for the church. It was for making sure that the church was always supplied to give away to those less fortunate. So everyone that had a plot of land had to bring 10% of their agriculture be given away
Okay,
because that's what deity wanted.
that makes perfect sense.
Boom. So for me, that means whatever I get that's a blessing from deity, can I make sure that some of it is passed along to somebody else who can now throw down and use what I don't have, what I can give. So if you are working and you are making minimum wage and you can afford to give 10% of your volunteer time, you can read a book to someone, you can teach someone how to read, you can take someone to go vote, you can take care of someone to help them go get their food stamps because you can take them to go get their food stamps. That's my 10%. If you see someone on the streets and you know that they're on their last leg and all you can do is sit with them and give them a piece of sandwich, that is your 10%. If I know that my friends are in need of anything, even if it's just a smile, and I do it even though I'm tired, even though I'm cold, even though I'm hungry, and something gets said to me in spirit, call this person right now. That's my 10%.
I like that.
You're laying down those pictures, those seeds. You know, the Bible is full of agriculture. It's all about planting seeds, reaping and sowing. Planting seeds, reaping and sowing, right? Above and above and above. So part of our tithe isn't to do with money. It has to do with us giving from something outside of ourselves to carry out deliverance on the behalf of what deity wants. It has nothing to do with money.
See, I feel delivered again. So, you guys, I am just so excited. Please follow. If this resonates with you, if you caught some of this and you're like, what? I want to hear more, please follow Miss Sherry at that hoodoo lady. And she's
Lady,
on, yep, she's on Instagram, she's on Threads, she's on Facebook, she's on YouTube. I think you're on TikTok too, aren't you?
and I'm on TikTok too. It's so easy to find me. If you want that hoodoo lady, just come out. There are other great hoodoo practitioners out there as well. And I'm never going to say don't follow everyone. We need everyone. There is enough casserole for all of us to have a spoon. So dig in,
Love
right?
it. I'm getting my spoon. Sherry, thank you so much. Gotta have you back.
Yes, this has been an honor. It's always an honor to hang out with you,
I love
GDC.
it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you guys for listening to yet another episode of Belief Being and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Please like, subscribe, and share with somebody that you think might enjoy this topic. I come at you with a lot of different belief systems. I love bringing great people like that hoodoo lady to great people like you listeners, and it just fills my heart. So thank you so much, Sherry. It has been a joy.
Thank you. Thank you.